Hi, I'm really glad you're back. Now today we're going to talk about commitments. You may have heard this story, but for those of you who didn't, it is kind of funny and I want to share it with you. There was this man who had worked his whole life, who saved all of his money, and he was a real miser. And when it came to money, he decided before he died, he wanted to ask his wife to take all of his money, put it into the casket with him, and bury it with him so he could take it to the afterlife. So his wife, astonished as she was, promised to do that. She would put all the money in the casket so he could take it with him. Well, ultimately he died, and he was stretched out in the casket, and she was sitting in the funeral there with her friend, sitting next to her. And just before they finished the ceremony, the undertakers got up to close the casket, and she said, wait a minute. And she got up from her chair, and she took her little box, and she put it in the casket. And then she came back to sit down with her friend. Well, her friend whispered to her, honey, were you foolish enough to put all your money in that casket with your husband? And the wife said, look, I'm a Christian. I can't go back on my word. I promised him I was going to put that money in the casket, and I did. I put it all in my bank account, and then I wrote him a check, and when he gets to where he's going, if he can cash it, he can spend it. Isn't that kind of where we are in the world today? Aren't those the kind of commitments we experience with people? They tell us one thing and then something else happens, doesn't it? Seriously, how many of you would agree that an incredibly important part of any relationship is our ability to keep our word? In fact, isn't our word, keeping our word, one of the main defining hallmarks of our character? It's also one of the most confusing and most difficult aspects of a relationship. Let's simplify it. Keeping your word is simply about commitment. However, it's a skill with big benefits. For instance, for me, it's about me fine-tuning my character, my level of honesty, my ability for excruciating truth-telling, my honor. For others, we can create a safety in our relationships, a mutual trust and respect that allows our partners and our friends to be more vulnerable. And for the world, the energy we emanate is grace and compassion. The greatest contracts, the finest promises, all the best plans made by man are absolutely useless unless you have commitment. The fundamental force of your character is the power of your word. It's the attitude of honoring promises you made as sacred, especially the promises you make to yourself. Your commitments are about you, and they're not about anybody else. When you came to this planet, you made a promise to yourself to grow and be the best that you could be. This is the planet of learning. This is consciousness school. But like many other schools, if you want to, you can just come and play and raise hell, and that can be okay for a while. But at some point, you're going to start to feel empty. You're going to start to feel like you're missing something, and you are. That something is the real you. Each of us has what I call holy moments. These are moments when we have to decide, who am I? What am I here for? What is this opportunity I'm giving myself to move forward? And when those holy moments arise, we can do the easy thing and stay in the status quo, which is really disappointing to our soul and ourselves. And I'm telling you this because this era, this day, this moment is a holy moment. It can either be your experience that moves your soul forward into being who you want to be and who you know you can be, or it can be just another talk you heard on YouTube, like the last one or the one before. Today, you can align with your highest self and be as vulnerable and truthful as you want to be with your partners and with yourself, which means you're going to step into the power of who you are, to do what you came here to do. It's okay to wait, but didn't you come here to wake up? Didn't you come here to bump up your consciousness? Can you see the old paradigms for what love looks like are just simply not working? And that's okay to hang out with the status quo, but wait, what did you come here to do? Didn't you come here to get conscious? You can continue to feel separate from your divine self and unable to connect with the spirit of those you love, or you can bump up. Are you ready to live a life that's fulfilled in alignment with your purpose? Really, no pressure here, but look around. It's time for all of us to bump up, and we need you. So right now, today, make a commitment to yourself and the child inside of you, or to your partner or to your family member, and know that you can keep it at this moment. If you're not ready yet because this is not the right opportunity for you or the time for you, that's fine too. Because ultimately you're going to have another choice point, another holy moment in either this life or the next. But those of you who feel unable or unwilling, please ask yourself what you're afraid of. Are your current beliefs working for you? Is life working for you? How many of you believe that you're living on the edge of a massive turning point for humankind? Well, for those of you who are not sure, please do some research for yourself. Get on your computer and ask, how many people on this planet have we lost to war, genocide, famine, disease, and natural disasters in the last 100 years? You know what, I'm not even going to quote the numbers because they are stunning and frightening, and I'd rather have us focus on changing them. But you need to know those numbers so that you can make a commitment with me to do exactly that, change them. We no longer have the luxury of time we once had to learn to be a peace-loving consciousness people. We have to get this now. We have to get this in this moment. Do you realize the work you do with yourself has such a far-reaching effect on our planet that it's amazing? When you heal some part of yourself that is waking up, a world event takes place because the energy in the world in that moment is forever changed. We cannot find it in our hearts to forgive each other, and if we don't and stop the pain of separation and contempt in our relationships and with our beloved, what chance do we have of healing this planet? Absolutely none. What better place to practice loving behavior than in your relationships with those you love? That's the beginning point. Once you get that, the energy becomes the connective juice between you and every other human being. Can you see that the decisions we make in those choice point moments not only determine the direction and the quality of your life, they're also part of a world event. It's our cumulative effort at raising the level of consciousness and awareness that's creating a new consciousness. So we invite you to risk moving forward right now. We invite you to join the millions of people who are waking up, stepping out, and into their spiritual power. You don't have to qualify for it. You don't have to pass any tests. As soon as you ask the question, the answers will arrive. The only thing you have to do is be willing to acknowledge the truth that what you already know inside is in you, and that you came here to be your highest and best spiritual self. Let's also be clear about what I mean when I say spiritual self. I'm not talking about dogma or religion or rules or anything like that. No doctrine. Although that's fine if that's where you find your spiritual self. What I'm referring to is that inner voice that tugs at you when you're about to make a misstep, or stops you when you begin to tell a lie. I'm talking about that part of you that wants a deeper connection and a deeper sense of union with something greater than yourself that you already know exists. I'm talking about the part of you that has purpose and wants to make a contribution to the betterment of humankind. The part of you that wants to elevate the conversations to things like values, kindness, and compassion. Okay, now don't be afraid about what I'm about to say, but you came here to be a master, the one you already are inside and simply have not welcomed yet. This is not about your ego or lying to yourself. It's not about treating ourselves as if we're more important or special than anybody else. It's about simply refusing to act small anymore. By listening to yourself today, the commitment you make will be one of the most important commitments you will ever make to yourself. In some cases, if you're in a relationship, it may not be appropriate to make a long-term commitment. For instance, if you're committed to someone who's still into substance abuse or other abusive or addictive behaviors or refuses to heal, a commitment isn't appropriate for you in that point. If your partner's addicted, your partner already has a different priority in his or her life, and it's not you, and it's not waking up. He or she will need to help to change that. help from a professional or somebody who's already traveled that path. Or perhaps you haven't known each other that long, or you may have just left a long-term relationship and don't yet feel healed enough or ready to commit to another one. Important to listen to your own wisdom, because even then you can commit to the process of handling the relationship and the dance you're in together ethically and honorably by giving the other full disclosure on issues and committing to whatever is appropriate for you at this time. And remember, the most important commitment you make is the one you make to yourself. So what do you think making a commitment or being committed on a spiritual level means? It's simply another word for authentic connection, a sense of reverence for our journey and everybody in it. Understanding that each person in your life is a master, a teacher for your soul. Being ethical, honest, present, vulnerable, doing the work. So shouldn't we all be committed in every relationship we're in? I tried to think about what I really wanted to say about commitment and how important it is. Honorable commitment, I think, is the ground and connection of all the work we do in relationships and in the world. It's about passion and presence. It's about ethics and honor. We're not going to be able to address the issues inside we have in denial unless we're committed and safe with ourselves. Your commitment is the thing that makes it safe enough for you to explore, find your true self. However, a commitment means nothing unless you have the character to honor it. Until we become willing to stand emotionally nude, stripped of every defense mechanism and protection, and see who we honestly are, we're not in the game of truly waking up. And we will not be willing to be emotionally nude, stripped of every defense mechanism and protection, unless we know our partners are committed to waking up as well. So be prepared for the reality that we all have baggage. We all have places that need healing. Nobody's perfect, and if you were perfect, you would not be on this planet or in this consciousness school. So be willing to dance with your partner in totally open, nude, honest space. And oh man, when you get to that, it's the most fun, most rewarding, most exciting and fantastic journey you will ever be on. That is conscious commitment. Let's get real. If you do make a commitment, to whom are you making the commitment? You're making it to yourself. If I cheat on my commitment, if I lie, if I'm not honorable, if I don't tell the truth, the greatest sadness and error is that I have broken my commitment of being real to myself. I've stopped being the best of who I am. If someone breaks his or her commitment to you in a dishonorable way, it's about the character and honor of that person. It has nothing to do with you. If you bring a beautiful tray of fruit, delicious food from Hawaii, and for a million reasons the person you bring it to is allergic, they've just eaten, they're not ready to enjoy it, none of that is about you. It's about the other person. Your job and my job is to honor ourselves and our character by offering the very best of what we have to each other. And what everybody else does with it is really none of our business. I have one little caveat for that, by the way. Remember, I said our first and foremost commitment is to ourselves. So if you are violating my boundaries through emotional, physical, or any other kind of abuse, dishonesty, misuse of power, any kind of boundary violation, and you are not willing to work on that, then I really have no other option but to leave. My first commitment must be to myself, and it's not in a selfish way, but in a way that honors my contract and responsibility to do what I came here to do and fulfill my purpose in my life. If I cannot be who I am because I'm too busy cleaning up the chaos or pain in a relationship, then I must leave, because my spiritual contract is the most important commitment I have above anything else, even though it might break my heart to leave you. I have to trust that I'm going to find the right partner or friend, and together we will support each other in our work together, because that's what we came here to do. And remember, making a commitment doesn't mean you have to put a wedding ring on your finger today. It means making a commitment as friends, as a parent, as a partner, as a child, as a neighbor, to anyone in your life who is precious, starting with yourself. Okay, now don't play small here or act like you don't know what we're talking about. We do know, and you do know, everything I am saying to you right now is true, because it is the truth that sits in the middle of your heart and reverberates through every life decision until you honor it. It keeps tugging at you. It's about your deepening process. It's about you creating sacred relationships, raising the bar of your own level of integrity, truth-telling, and presence and reverence for each other. It's about you getting profoundly in the game and not just existing together. You are masters, or you would not be listening to this. More importantly, you would not be hearing it. This is why connection and commitment are necessary, because we live in a world that fosters disconnection. And you know what? When we stop and we disconnect from each other, that's when we can really hurt each other. We can really be dishonorable. When I'm not connected to you, I can lie to you. When I'm not connected to you, I can be unfaithful to you. How would it be possible to kill someone in another country if I had created a friendship with him or her? I had a connection with them and knew their kids, their mom, their family. We are only able to hurt each other when we disconnect from each other. As human beings, as friends, as people. When people disconnect, they're able to lie. They're able to speak abusively and act in painful ways. They're able to steal from you, have an affair, lie behind your back. But if you are totally connected to your partners, that becomes impossible, because you realize the pain you're creating is in yourself. Relationships, whether they're with family or friends or partners, as we do them today for the most part, reinforce separation as individuals. Look how much time we spend on our electronics. Look how much isolation that creates, simply because we're putting everything else in a place of greater importance than waking up together. We have it backwards. If we're not in the business of waking up together, then we're not in the business of being blessed by the universe in every way. We can experience abundance in every aspect of our life if waking up together is your priority. We're constantly protecting our space right now, our rights, our party affiliation, our gender, our color, our city, our country, our level of need. We're pushing people into gender roles, stereotypes, and labels. We're fencing in countries and closing our hearts. No one can grow with a closed heart or mind. I believe we foster and support a sense of separation because it's familiar. It's an extension of what we experienced in our families of origin, and sometimes what we experience with spirit or universe or whatever you call that energy. But when you know what hits the fan, where is the first place we go? Back to spirit, back to universe. We do the same thing in relationships. We wait for the fire. You would not believe how many divorced people I've talked to that have come in. Couples sit back in amazement when one of the partners finally says to the other, "I'm leaving," after years of pleading with their partner to change. And the spouse replies, "I didn't know it was that bad." And I can promise you, every departing partner often responds, "I have been telling you this for years." So what happened? No connection. You can tell when people are not connected. They say really non-committal things like, "I don't know," or "I haven't decided what I feel yet," or the worst one I hate, "I'm trying, I'm working on it." The biggest commitment you'll ever make is the one not to cheat on yourself by pretending that you don't know what you know. You do know. One misunderstanding many people believe is that once you make a commitment, you are never able to change your decision, not even if you need to in order to honor yourself. That's not true. We're not talking about putting you in cement. There's always a way to change your commitment ethically and honorably without breaking them dishonestly. First of all, when couples come together who are divorcing because of an affair, it's never the divorce that's the most painful thing. Do you know what it is? It's the loss of respect. It's the betrayal. As I said, there's going to be times when you must make a change, especially in a situation where there's ongoing substance abuse or any other kind of abuse or a refusal to grow. Because again, your greatest commitment and assignment on this planet is to wake up. And if you feel you can't do that because you're incessantly caught up in the drama and the chaos of cleaning up a partner's mess, then you have no choice to leave. But be careful here. Do not trick yourself into making the other person the focus of your excuses, like he won't get spiritual, or he won't have sex as often as I want, or she parks the car crooked in the garage. I remember a time when I talked to a woman who came to me to talk about leaving her husband, and I asked her why she wanted to leave, and she said, well, I just can't live with him anymore. He's totally unconscious. He never reads a book. He never goes to seminars. He never asks me any questions about what I've learned. He has no interest in it. So I asked her, does he pay for the seminars? She said, yeah. I said, is he happy to pay for them? She said, yeah, he is. And I said, does he seem to be glad when you come home joyful and filled up with new information? She said, yeah. I said, do you love him? And does he love you? She said, oh yeah, we've loved each other. We've been together 30 years. So I said, honey, he's being the best spiritual partner you could ever ask for. He's making it possible for you to wake up and be conscious and bring your purpose for yourself into a possibility. She started to cry, and I asked her to just go home and thank him for being the best possible partner and supporting her in the best way he ever could, and she agreed. So what's stopping you from taking full responsibility for your own level of happiness? How about satisfaction in your own life? I can just hear gasps. You mean it's not selfish for me to be happy? No, it's not selfish at all. In fact, it's your job to create a life that you love so that you can be happy and do this work. And the universe is going to support that as well. We're humans. We're going to err. We have to have compassion for that and be willing to forgive ourselves and each other. If your heart's desire is to do the soul work, you can't use your partner as an excuse for stopping your own growth. If you feel you are connected in other ways, but not connected sexually, then find out what makes your partner happy. Get connected and do the work together to make yourselves feel safer. Many of you have heard the names of Stephen and Andre Levine. I want to tell you a little bit about that story. Stephen and Andre Levine have both written books about death and dying and being a couple and living consciously. And shortly after they were married and met each other, their relationship got to be really rocky. And so they made a commitment, and they took off and they left their professions and they left their schedules and they went into the mountains, and they decided they were going to not talk to any of their friends, leave their phones behind, and they were going to work together until they worked out whatever was going on in their relationship. Well, ultimately, what they found out was that they had withdrawn sexually from each other because Stephen had been addicted to porn his whole life, and Andrea had felt that unsafe energy when they made love. And Andrea had been abused in her life, and so she had some hesitancy to give herself fully to Stephen. Can you imagine they went together in this separate place, talked about that, worked it through, cried together, and reconnected? Relationships are about doing sacred work together. That's the piece that has been missing. If you're going to do that, I guarantee you will keep your commitments. Your relationships will be long-term commitments and friendships. And the change that happens in them will fill you with joy just because they're ethical. My biggest request and the most important gift you can give to yourself is please don't leave because you're unwilling to wake up. And please don't leave because you're unwilling to deal with your pain or your pathology. All of that is what happened to you. It's not who you are. Your spirit will just offer you another holy moment. And I know you must be smiling because it's already probably happened to you a number of times, and it will again if you don't deal with what comes up as it comes up. Because whatever you're refusing to heal is going to come up in your next relationship and the one after that. It's a personal exercise in your own soul's evolvement. Your spirit knows you're ready to deal with it, or it wouldn't be coming up. You may also have a hesitation to commit because of a lack of willingness to stand or make a decision. I call this the grass is greener illusion, or that you're missing something you think you might need but won't give to yourself. Remember, you get to have as green a grass as you want in your own yard, and you get to create that. And the truth is, you could fall in love with that tree outside if you wanted to badly enough. We just have not been the beloved to our partners. Instead, we have been our facade selves. The teacher, the business partner, the employee, the business owner, the provider, the caretaker. the parent, the taxi driver, but not the beloved. We believe we are our bodies, toys, stock portfolios, houses, our fame, our cars, our bank accounts. The more we have, the more we are, or not. The greater our success, the greater our personal value, or not. The truth is, the more you have to take care of, and the more you have to worry about losing all of it. And there's nothing wrong with having everything you want. Don't hear me saying that. Unless it prevents you from being who you are and doing what you came here to do. Because having all that is not the it of it. Living your purpose is what you came here to do. We have buried our real selves in what we think our parents or our partners want us to be. From the moment of your birth, from the moment you took that first precious breath, you were born with great value. Nothing has ever changed that. Nothing ever will. Most of us never really get into relationships fully. We hold back because we are afraid. And what we're really doing is rejecting and abandoning ourselves. We don't believe that we're really lovable enough or worthy enough. So one piece at a time we take ourselves and our needs out of the relationship. And the truth of who you are leaves the relationship until the real you is no longer there at all. And you are miserable, and you say to yourself your needs are not being met. First, you abandon yourself and your needs in order to be with this person, and then ultimately they abandon you because they can't feel the real you anymore. Here is a big fat truth. You never get abandoned unless you abandon yourself first. I'm going to say that one again. You will never get abandoned unless you abandon yourself first. What happens is, first you abandon yourself, and then your partner can't feel you anymore, and so they leave. In every relationship, the image that I see is two partners, two people, and then a third force or energy that emerges out of that beautiful two-ness. A third is the oneness, the shared awareness, the love. Two people come together in order to find that awareness that exists between them. Call it relationship, call it God, call it the universe, just call it love. The two-ness brings you together into the oneness dances it too, and that is conscious relationship. And that is what we must all commit to, no matter what the form, whether it's friend, family, partner. No matter what form the relationship might take, it can be a conscious relationship. Separate and yet not, one feeding the two, with all the uniqueness and individuality of each of you. That's an extremely delicate dance, but so beautiful. Notice that's often the same predicament we feel about having a spiritual path. We might say to ourselves, man, if I lose myself in a spirituality, into some divine consciousness, if I get too spiritual, will I lose my humanness? Will people think I'm weird and not like me anymore? Probably. That's what happened to me. And guess what else? Soon, what really happens is people begin to recognize something in you that they want for themselves. And before long, you're going to be connecting with them in seminars, hooking them up with these sessions, having your own discussion group. Trust me, that's how it works. Like energy draws like energy. The moment of divine union, what you will find is that you are more real as an individual than you have ever been before. The same is true in relationships. Our relationships with each other become a spiritual precursor for our relationships with all of life. If I cannot find a way to be vulnerable with you, how can I find a way to be vulnerable with the universe? How can I open up to everything it wants to offer me? If I can't trust myself to be honest with you, how can I ever be honest with spirit fully, or my family, or my child? It's so easy to get entrenched in our own, I need this, I want this, you're not fulfilling for me. We look for relationships out of need. We begin seeing each other as an object. Need is not love. I'm going to say that one again. Need is not love. The moment I make you the object of fulfilling my need, you're no longer my beloved. You're the object of fulfilling my need. And what then? We disconnect. We have to breathe. We have to let our hearts break open. Trust, meditate, create connection. Learn to hold the connection and keep clearing until we can stand in a shared awareness, naked and free from any pretense. And that is where we're going to find our true selves. Now, it wouldn't be fair to say that every relationship that's not totally focused on becoming conscious is not useful or fulfilling. That too can be a learning process. But is that what you want? Sometimes we get into relationships just because it's fun to sleep together or cook together or go to movies together. And it's important to realize that every relationship we have with every person is a spiritual tool that reflects our growth back to us. So that's okay. Depending upon where you are on the path of consciousness, we each have to decide how we're going to use the information that relationship offers. But you're here because you are ready to do sacred work and sacred relationship. Otherwise, you would not be sitting here listening to this. Who are you and what are you here for? So the most important thing that you can do right now is commit to yourself. What right now can you commit to? And what can you commit to those in your life starting today? For those of you who feel your path is not together, can you commit to changing the form of your relationship without changing the love and continuing the work of waking up together as friends or teachers or mentors supporting each other? For those of you who feel your path is with each other, what kind of a commitment can you make to a life together? For those of you who gave this gift to yourself just for you, congratulations. Can you commit to that inner child inside of you, never to compromise your safety or abuse yourself? And can you commit to creating the kind of relationship you deserve? When you feel ready, say to your partner, your family member, your kids, this in your own words. Thank you so much for blessing my life with your presence. You are a sacred gift to my soul. I want you to find that authentic, clear place in your heart that knows the truth, that this is what you already know, that you are already a master. I want you to make an agreement with yourself today that this is the day you step into the truth of who you are. This is the day you bump up into being the master you came here to be. And don't worry, you get to make mistakes. You get to fall down. You get to bump yourself. I want you to remember that Einstein said the most courageous spirits give themselves the greatest challenges. You don't have to be perfect. No one is. Your only job is to try and stay awake so you can be who you came here to be and do a little bit more each and every day. You're not going to do a quantum leap from here to being perfect. Don't ask that of yourself. Just put your hand on your heart and thank yourself for being wise enough and self-loving enough to spend this time with us as we're waking up together. And promise yourself that every single day you're going to take another little step forward into being the truth of who you are. Next time we're going to be talking about truth-telling without a sledgehammer, so please join us. Meantime, I hope you're inviting your friends to visit our site, drdinaevan.com. Download the exercises. Don't forget those because they'll really help deepen your work. Sign up for our weekly messages. And we value your input very much, so please tell us about your quantum leaps. Tell us what changes you're making. Tell us what else you'd like to hear about. Tell us what questions you have. We're so glad to have you walking this path together. Until next time, thank you.